Hello ladies and gentlemen, in today's video I want to show you 5 cool command block tips that you can use to make any build look a lot better. I included some simple things for command block beginners and some advanced things for experts among you, so hopefully you can all take something away from this video. So let's start with tip number 1, but before we do, it's very important that you disable command block output. Otherwise your chat will be spammed with random junk. So let's take a look at the first tip, which is the particle command, which you can use to make kind of different auras around your build and give them more character. So after the particle command itself, you have to specify which particle you want to appear. The next 3 numbers are the coordinates at which the particles should appear. You can use relative ones or absolute ones, up to you. Then the next 3 numbers basically indicate how large the area is going to be in which the particles appear. So if you write 0, 0, 0, they will appear at a single point. Then we have the speed, and generally just try to keep that pretty low, because the higher speeds, they just go completely crazy. And the last number right here is the count. So if this command basically just summons a smoke cloud at this position, and we can increase the count and maybe decrease the speed, and changes will happen according to what you write into the command block. Using basic particle commands, you can just give a build a certain feel. So over here we have some kind of pond, and if we activate this command block chain, it kind of looks poisonous, and even though there are no effects, people are probably not going to want to jump in because it just looks dangerous. If, however, we replace that with heart particles and these white magic particles, it looks so much more friendly and almost like it would heal you. So depending on what you are trying to achieve, you can just give your build more character, and there are a lot of tools available. So these are just a few examples of the particles you can choose from. So I'm sure that whatever it is you're trying to do, there is something fitting that you can use to improve the build. Tip number 2 is block animations. So if you have a certain build, in this case I just made a simple door, and you want to have it open, you can use block animations to make it look way cooler. I also made a closing animation, which is just the same thing in reverse. And if you are wondering how I did it, I went for a little bit of an advanced approach. Basically, if you press one of these buttons, it summons an armorstand with the tag animation and forwards or backwards. At the forward is spawned at the lapis block right here. And then we have a command block chain, and the first command block just adds a score to the timer scoreboard objective. So let's activate that, and if we press the button, you can see that it keeps cycling up until the animation finished. So it just keeps counting up, and if it reaches a certain number, in this case I chose 8, a certain area relative to the armor stand gets cloned to the position over there. And after that, it is teleported 5 blocks forward. So it spawns, clones the area, gets teleported forwards, clones the area, teleported forwards, and so on until it reaches the end, where I'm also detecting this block right here to kill the armor stand and end the animation. If you want to make it faster or slower, you can just replace. I marked all of the command blocks which you need to change. This is for the forward animation, this for the backward animation, and this just to reset the objective. So you can just replace these numbers, for example with 5. Let's do that real quick, which should result in a fast animation if I'm not mistaken. And if we try it right now, there we go, it's a little bit faster now. I'm gonna leave the world download in the description if you want to copy these commands. Then you can just take a look and implement them into your own build. If that's too complex for you, I'll also link another video in the description where Grian basically explains another less advanced but more simple way of making block animations work. So if you're interested and this sounds too complicated to you, just check out the link in the description where Grian will take you through all the steps you need to do. Before we continue, I'd like to take a second to thank my newest channel member, McMakistein. I really appreciate the donation and all the videos you make about my creations. Thank you. Tip number 3 is advanced particles. I explained this in like 2 videos before, but I'm gonna say it again because it's pretty cool. If you set the particle count to 0, these numbers right here indicate the direction in which the particles go. So if you put 1 here, it goes straight up. And if you put 0.5, 0.5, it goes into this direction, and the same for this one. You can also increase or decrease the speed with this number if that's what you want to achieve. And if you know how to program, you can even like calculate points on a circle and then like make the beam go in a circle. I made, like for a nether castle creation, I used this to make a fire throne sort of thing. And yeah, you can just use that to achieve some pretty cool things. Second special syntax is with the dust particle. These 3 numbers are basically RGB values, and this one stands for the size. So if you write 1, you get red particles, here you get green ones, and here you get blue ones. And as you can see, the last number just increases the size. I think 6 is the maximum. Yeah, 6 seems to be the max. Let's try 5. Or maybe even 5 is the maximum. You can play around with it and see what you can come up with. But yeah, that's like if you don't know how the syntax works, you're probably gonna get stuck with the dust particle command. So yeah, that's how it works. Moving on to the block particle, which also has a bit of a special syntax. Basically, after the block part, you have to specify the block that you want the particles to appear from. So if you write redstone block or command block or dirt, it just emits the particles from the block. Same exact thing goes for the item particles. You just write the item after the item part, and it will spawn the appropriate particles. Tip number 4 is using invisible entities to achieve some decorative effects. So in this case, I basically spawned some armor stands with items in either the head slot or the hand slot. And I'm basically just spawning them in with specific rotations and head poses and stuff, and certain items in the hands and heads. To basically put together this shield with the swords, which if you're building a castle, for example, could look pretty cool. And over here we have something similar, just blocks in the head slot of an armor stand. And to achieve this kind of tiny little flame without the block actually burning, I basically spawned an invisible chicken, and I'm constantly setting it on fire with this command right here. If you want to make the flame bigger, you can just spawn a cow, for example, or a bigger entity. And yeah, just using invisible entities and NBT manipulation, you can just come up with some pretty cool decorations. There's actually a generator by MrGarretto, which you can use for 1.12 and below, I believe, where you can basically in a 3D view just adjust. Whoops, my chicken just burned. So you can just adjust the model in a 3D view and put something together, but that doesn't work for 1.13 yet. I'm not sure if he's planning to update. In 1.13 you just have to play around with these values until you achieve the result that you want. And little tip, if an armor stand is inside of a block and it's turning black, just use stairs, because they don't count like as a fully solid block. The armor stand item still renders correctly. And last but not least, we have some super crazy advanced particle things. I don't know. Basically, if you rotate an armor stand and spawn particles with local coordinates, which is that's my phone, I'm sorry, and spawn particles next to it, you can achieve these pretty cool looking effects. But let's turn it off for now. And if you want to go full crazy mode, you can even basically teleport an armor stand relative to this one and then rotate that again and then spawn particles relative to both of them. It's kind of complicated, but you can come up with patterns like that, which looks pretty cool. And if you change up the values, you can achieve different results. Let's see what happens now. Oh, it doesn't look as cool, I think. Let's try 6. That's pretty much the same thing. But yeah, if you want to just play around with the values, you can come up with crazy patterns like that, which just is a pretty cool ambient effect, I think. And then over here, I made another neat little thing where I'm basically repeatedly spawning armor stands, which travel upwards with an increasing speed to make it look more dynamic. And then I'm basically rotating them and spawning particles relative to them to achieve this cool looking effect. So if you have some sort of monument or a statue in your base, you can use that to make it look way more majestic. And yeah, that was all the 5 tips I have for you today. If I forgot something or you have any other cool ideas, just leave a comment down below and upvote the good ones that you see, so everybody who's in this video for some cool tips can take something away. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.